Hello. In this video, I'm going to give you a short introduction to my new plugin, which is called Dynameter. And the tagline for Dynameter is stop worrying about loudness, start working with dynamics. Dynameter measures a property of the audio called the PSR, which stands for peak to short-term loudness ratio. And don't panic, that's not as bad as it sounds. It's basically the difference between the peak level and the loudness as measured by the International ITU broadcast standard. And I've found over the years that PSR is a really great way of assessing the dynamics of your music and helping you find the perfect balance between loudness and dynamics. And probably the best way to show you how it works is to start with an example. So this is a song from Joe Gilder's last album, Better This Way, which I mastered for him. And this is a song called Feel. And all I've done is insert Dynameter on the main stereo output of Wavelab, and I'm just going to play you some of it. This bar up here will show the PSR value. Remember, that's the difference between the peak level and the loudness. And then you'll see the history graph scrolling out below. So here we go. So you can hear it's a great sounding rocky track. I'm just going to skip ahead to the chorus, which is the loudest section of the song. And hopefully you've already got a good idea of how Dynameter is working. As I say, this bar here shows you the PSR value moment to moment. Larger values suggest more dynamic material. Lower values suggest limited dynamics. And the history graph unfolds beneath. And we can zoom in and out on this simply by clicking and dragging to view the profile over any time interval we like. And we can also change the horizontal scale by holding down Shift and clicking and dragging left and right. This value here shows the numerical PSR value at any moment. And the value here shows the target PSR, which is one of the most useful features of Dynameter, which I'll talk about in just a minute. Now we can have multiple instances of Dynameter. So if I go to the clip where I have my processing applied and add another instance of Dynameter at the beginning of the effects chain, I'll bring that up here and put it next to the other instance so that you can compare the two. So now Dynameter is going to show us a snapshot of the dynamics profile of the mix before and after the mastering processing. And I should say that although I'm using this in a mastering context, you can also use Dynameter in a recording or a mix situation as well. And the other thing that this example shows quite nicely is the way that the color coding in Dynameter works. Larger PSR values corresponding to more dynamic signals are coded purple, blue, green or yellow. And as the loudness increases, as the loudness gets closer to the maximum peak level of the material, it starts to go orange and eventually red. And red coloring corresponds to a PSR value of 8, which is the minimum PSR that I personally would recommend you master your songs to, and certainly would be too low for mixing or recording. And if you've ever used the TT meter, I think these color codings are going to feel very familiar to you. We've tried to make them correspond as closely as possible for people who've been using the TT meter. And I'll just quickly show you what happens if you go beyond PSR 8 in the color coding. And I'll use the popular Slate FGX plugin for this with the constant gain monitoring function on, so I don't deafen you.
It's better this way. It's better today than it's ever been.
And now I'll disable it again. Just listen to all the punch come back.
It's better this way.
So you can see that a PSR of 7 gives you a brown colour, and then when you get down to 6 or lower you get grey, and then dark grey for those really extreme settings. And of course it's easy to hear big differences like that, but I hope you can see how Dynameter gives you a visual indicator of what's going on and might help you notice some of the more subtle stuff. You might think those values are over the top, but they're still really common in a lot of releases out there at the moment, with all the compromises to the sound that involves. But Dynameter doesn't just allow you to measure your music. Probably its most powerful feature is the ability to choose how dynamic you want your music to be and to see at a glance when you've achieved that. And it does that by allowing you to set a target PSR value. And we've included some presets to help get you started. So for example, if you're recording or mixing, you probably want to choose either the wide or balanced preset. Here's an example of how that would look. You can see we have lots of blue, green and purple in the history graph, and it never dips below this recommended minimum value of PSR 12. Whereas if you want to achieve the kind of dynamics we hear in classic tracks from the 70s, 80s or early 90s, the competitive preset is a great place to start. And it's also my preferred starting point for contemporary dynamics that don't fall victim to the loudness war. Whereas for the example song that I started this video with, I used the limited preset. That recommends a minimum PSR of 8. Let me just show that to you. So as I said, PSR 8 is the minimum that I recommend you master to. And in fact, that is one of the loudest moments on that album. There are lots of other tracks that have a higher PSR value. But of course, it depends on the material and your personal taste. These are only recommendations. And in fact, probably a better choice for me in terms of matching that perfectly would be PSR 9. And you do have the flexibility to set custom PSR targets as well using Dynameter. So the target value is a simple but powerful way for you to choose exactly what kind of dynamics you would like to have in your music and to see at a glance when you've achieved that. So I just want to finish this video by showing you a few real-world examples. The #1 selling album of all time is Thriller by Michael Jackson, and this is what the song Thriller looks like measured in Dynameter. In a completely different genre, this is Smells Like Teen Spirit by Nirvana, which surely has to be a great example of a really loud, aggressive song with great dynamics. And in case you're feeling that those examples are from too long ago to be relevant to contemporary mixing and mastering, this is Dynameter's overview measurement of Uptown Funk, one of the biggest hits in the world of the last 12 months. Now, were these songs all massive hits because they had great dynamics? Probably not. My point is, they were massive worldwide hits and they had great dynamics, with all the benefits of the punch and space and impact that come with them. And hopefully they will inspire you with the confidence to try and achieve similar results for your music. So there you go. I hope that gives you an idea of how Dynameter works, and if you decide to give it a try, I hope it helps you stop worrying about loudness and start working with dynamics. My name is Ian Shepherd. Thanks for listening.